What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. 80 grand credit card bill for a vacation? Holy fuck, edit. I can see how, but it still seems like you have to try to unless your trip is really long. Although I don't know what I would expect from someone whose dad has a $80K plus credit card limit. That's levels of fuck you money I've never put thought into. Must have been a good Euro trip. Here's a fun fact. You made out with your sister. First day as a librarian in a private school. Help a 7-year-old with the printer. He offers to tip me. I like this one because he's not a snot. He's just trying to be polite. Haha, it's super innocent. Like, kid doesn't know. He's just trying to be like the grown-ups he has grown up around. Haha, that's so true. I know it's not much, but here's $5 for the. Here. My friend is a commercial pilot and works for a large company that has a flight department consisting of several jets and turboprop airplanes. The owner's kids and a group of their friends were granted permission to take one of the jets from the central part of the US to the Bahamas. Upon arriving in the Bahamas, they were meeting other friends and getting on a very, very large yacht for a week. They realized the yacht was equipped with fine dining food, not the type of food they liked. Junk food. They ordered the pilots to fly back through US customs and to their hometown in the Midwest. Once there, they had to pick up multiple sides of BBQ ribs, burgers, hot dogs, soda, beer and piles of other junk food, and fly back to the Bahamas, and do so within a time frame that still allowed them to leave with the yacht on time. It costs roughly $5,000 an hour to operate the jet they were using. And it never even struck the owners as something extreme. Edit. Due to the popularity of this post, I called and got clarification on several points that have been repeatedly questioned. The BBQ, ribs, pulled pork and sauce, was the main purpose for the return trip to the Midwest. If you're from the Midwest, or a southern BBQ city, you know what I'm talking about. They don't have this in Florida, period. The other junk food was add-on requests from other guests. The plane owner's son had promised, in the months prior, to bring some of the BBQ he had told his other friends, who he was meeting in the Bahamas, about repeatedly throughout college. He forgot, and was catching hell for it. In an act of boldness, he sent the plane back for it. This is the most extreme example of how theses planes are used, and wealth flaunted, within this company. That's with the understanding that wife shopping trips, sending a plane back to pick up a kid after school to come to Florida, balgams, hunting and fishing trips and to dine in a restaurant 3,000 miles away, is commonplace. On occasion, these planes and pilots have been used as angel flights transport ill children and family throughout the country for medical procedures. The pilots for this company aren't paid the best, but are permitted to bring family, spouses mostly, to destinations, as space and work schedule dictates. Some senior pilots can stay at company-owned property nationwide if available. Twins in high school. Birthday, I think it was 17, they get matching pickup trucks. Like the souped-up larger-than-life cool-as-fuck looking black ones. Twin A is the brat, and smashes his in some remarkable timeframe, I want to say same day. It was crazy though. Parents decide not to get him another one, though I'm sure insurance probably covered it even if it was his fault, but regardless he is going to learn a lesson. The lesson? Take Twin B's truck, he's the responsible one, and crash it on purpose. If he can't have one, neither can his brother. So much recklessness, spite, and downright illegal in what he did. Follow up. Not sure if he went to prison etc. I do know he wasn't at school the next year, but he very well could have just dropped out. He was pretty sketchy. Twin B was actually a really good guy, but as soon as his brother was gone he became very quiet. He did eventually get some sort of car, but I remember it was much more toned down to the point I can't remember what it even looked like, but he got something. There weren't many other rich kids at the school, so this whole story stuck out as a huge event when it happened. Please tell me they got Twin B a new truck for bonus points. Tell me they made Twin A pay for it, like Twin A ever worked a day in his life. Probably still hasn't. Pull it out of his trust fund or his next Christmas or something. There's always a way, or just ground him for like 6 straight months. That should work too. Humble rich kid. I was a club at my college town, and my roommate's new friend who drove a Raptor was at the bar. I started shooting shit and we were getting along, so I offered to buy a Y-bomb, vodka Red Bull shot. Being as wealthy as he is, he said, "You don't have to do that, man, save your money. Round will be on me." I explained to him it didn't bother, I was having a good time, and insisted I buy the shot. Immediately after that, he pulls out a black Amex and purchases the nicest VIP booth in the club around 3K. Then ask what drink packages they have, and ask if he could buy 2 bottles on top of max package. Looks at me and goes tit for tat. Safe to say I don't recall much after that. I went to college with a guy who totaled 5 Mustangs in a year. I don't think he was sober enough to remember any of them. At least he doesn't give up. My personal favorite was in college. Kid down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me, case and all, for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. Don't talk to him, he'll think he's people. We only have lingonberries, sir. Well, are they ballistically similar to grapes? Excuse me, I've got to go and make an old man eat an entire bowl of spiderwebs. One time a college dorm mate next door was stressing his dad hadn't yet given him money for the month, and $1,000 wasn't going to last him for the week. Meanwhile, I'm having to donate plasma to afford my next meal. Life just be like that. Bruh, I try to live off less than $1,000 a month, you and me both, bud. Learned how to stretch $10 to cover me for a week, but I stopped drinking as much and quit smoking, so I guess there's a silver lining at it. Really didn't think this would blow up, haha. Luckily things are about to turn around for me. Long story short, I'm studying in a foreign country, and because my visa was only temporary, I couldn't apply for student loans. Thankfully, today that visa was made into a permanent residency, so I'll be able to apply for the loans. Yay. Basically, rent costs me $400 mo. Other bills total up to $60. I'm fortunate to have help from my parents, but I hate asking for money, so I calculate out how much I need and nothing more. I eat fairly healthy food, lots of beans and rice, pasta, etc. I don't eat meat, so that saves quite a bit. It's not every week I live on $10, but there are some weeks I have to. A can of beans is $1, which lasts 2 meals, so $5 is enough for 5 days. Then onions, garlic, and rice are basically the other $5. Sometimes I get enough hours at work to be able to splurge a bit more, but yeah, it's not fun. Luckily though, it'll be changing quite soon. Teacher here. To spring to mind. My first teaching job was at a private middle school in one of the wealthiest enclaves in the United States. I taught a kid who told me he didn't finish his homework because his helicopter had stalled over the weekend, so he couldn't leave his family's island. He was telling the truth. Same kid was also a huge pain in the ass who wanted to misbehave with the cool kids and then would lie through his teeth while crying when held accountable. His parents knew he was a jerk and cared enough to bring me a case of wine from their vineyard as a gift every parent-teacher conference or before the holidays, but they didn't care enough to discipline their kid. I now teach at a private school in Europe, and I'm absolutely gobsmacked by how many parents are happy to pay $35K per year to dump their kids into boarding so they can do fuck all as students and repeat grades 1, 2, 3 times because they don't make any effort whatsoever. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought on eBay memory module for my PC and said to me that I should have a little dignity, and if I buy used stuff, I should keep it to myself. I know a garbage man that works in rich neighborhoods and takes out trash around move-out time for the uber rich kid university. Every year, he finds 200 to 300 game consoles, the newest ones, and sometimes desktop PCs. The kids don't want to take them home, they just throw them all out. He makes a good $40K a year on eBay. He just cleans stuff up and sells it. Nice supplementary income. At my uni, some Saudi kid left an Audi in the parking lot when he went back home. Got towed, impounded, and when called he said he didn't give a shit, so it got sold at auction to recoup all the impound fees. A 14-year-old in full volume cursing meltdown. Where the fuck is he? Because the pilot of the private helicopter that had brought him there had gone off to get a cup of coffee. The kid was done skiing for the day and found it totally unacceptable that he had to wait 10 minutes before he got flown home. That poor pilot, I hope he wasn't fired over a cup of coffee. Lol, he can get a new job if he wants. Heli pilots do not give a flying fuck. I worked in a field station, and we had plenty of heli pilots. Can fucking confirm. All of them were cool dudes when they realized that we weren't all snobby stuck-up scientists researchers, because they're so used to dealing with snobby stuck-up people in general, instead of actual human beings. Edit. No one was snobby up there. I'm just saying that the helo pilots were so used to dealing with jerks they assumed we'd be no different. We proved them wrong. I was that poor kid who ended up getting a scholarship to a ridiculous private school. The one thing that stood out massively for me was probably how much people cared about what everyone else's parents did. Like your parents' achievements counted for yourself. My daddy just brought a new plane, yes, a literal statement. So what does your dad do? When I replied fuck all, they laughed and thought I was being cool about it. Oh yes. I remember this was strange in college when one or two people asked it as one of those first chit-chat questions like what's your major? I learned what friends' parents had been doing who I knew for years before, thanks to guys like that. Edit. Guys, I went to a school where most people were the first in their family to attend college. It is a beyond weird icebreaker in that context to say my dad's a beer distributor, and then have the asker say, oh, my dad is a VP at company X. They are just thinking ahead which friend's parent is going to be a good resource for career advice or even an in for an interview. We just interviewed someone whose parent was a school friend of one of our higher-ups. He was a shitty interviewee and didn't get the job, but at least he got an interview. There's a lot of rich kids in my particular business program in university. I met this one girl a few months ago at a social. We were chatting a bit about our program, and she proudly told me about how she threatens to sue the school whenever things don't go her way. She also said something to the effect of, they have to take the threats seriously because they know I actually have the means to follow through, haha. I studied abroad during school, and my class had a super rich kid. One day he stopped showing up to class, but still meets up with us after class for beer. When we eventually asked why, he said he was done going to class, and that he was going to sue the school and have his dad stop making donations, but didn't want to talk about why. Everyone made fun of him, and he stopped coming to meet us after class for the rest of the semester. Came to find out that one of the foreign professors sexually assaulted him one night when he was drunk. It's been a decade, and I feel terrible. Oh shit, that ending was unexpected. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down, and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier, I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster.